Hello and welcome to Rowan Consulting HR Surgery on this very bright and sunny morning. Just to give you a quick heads up, my name's Karen Watkins. I'm the founder of Rowan Consulting, and my co-pilot today is Rowena Smith, who deals with our HR clients, our HR retained package clients. And purpose of these surgeries, as per usual, is more of an Ask Me Anything. So there's a lot of stuff going on in terms of the pre-election campaign, Labour government coming in, new deal for working people, blah, 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 lots of stuff that we're hearing on the news at the moment. And our aim on these very sort of like short 20-minute conversations is around the burning questions that people have about what they're hearing at the moment. So I will hand over to Rowena, who I think has a series of questions that have come in. So I'm going to hand it to Rowena and we will start the session.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Okay, thank you everyone who sent their questions in. We've had loads of questions, and what we decided to do is just pick 3 or 4 that we feel are probably quite kind of what you call hot topics currently. So we'll start with the first question. Someone's reached out to us asking about qualifying periods. What is a qualifying period, and how it's going to impact them with the changes that are being talked about going forwards. So I guess it's what have we got now and what are we going to potentially have sort of down the line.
Okay, so yes, it's commonly known as qualifying periods, day one rights. There's a lot of terminology that's being used. So qualifying periods, at the moment, there are qualifying periods dependent upon length of service for employees that are joining businesses. And they range over anywhere between sort of 6 months and 2 years. And basically, qualifying period will be how much service do I need to have in order to qualify for X, Y, and Z. So we have a certain set of qualifying periods which are in at the moment. What we are expecting to come in under the new government, under the new deal for working people, is we're expecting quite a significant change. If this comes in, it will be the biggest change since approximately 1971. We have always had qualifying periods in, but this will be the biggest change for a long time. And what they are proposing, yet to be agreed, but what they are proposing is that the individuals, the qualifying periods will drop for 3 areas that we know of, and individuals who are joining companies, new employees that are joining companies, will have a day one right. So rather than a 2-year qualifying period for unfair dismissal, they will have a day one right for unfair dismissal for parental leave and also for sickness. So whereas before you had to have 3-month qualifying period, 6-month qualifying period, 2-year qualifying period, what they are suggesting at the moment will be stripped out, and there will be a day one right for those employees who are joining your organisation, and they will have a right to that from day one of starting. Now, we do know that they have that for flexible working at the moment. We know that's been in, that's nothing new. That was under sort of the old government. So we do still have day one rights for things like flexible working, but this will be probably quite a significant change in terms of the unfair dismissal, constructive dismissal type claims.
So it's actually going to, in terms of releasing employees from the organisation, make it a lot more challenging, would you say, for organisations when they're bringing people in, which kind of then makes you think about how you're going to utilise your recruitment process and also your probationary periods as well. You're going to have to really look at utilising them to their full capacity, in a sense, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And it's the advice that we're giving our clients right now is, whereas before you would hear people say, well, termination of a contract is easier because they haven't got a 2-year qualifying period for unfair dismissal. If that goes, if these changes do come in, and we're still waiting for the detail on this, but if they do come in, you're quite right, Ro, what's going to happen is they're going to need to ensure that the people that you're recruiting are absolutely right for your business. So the common term we use is recruit at haste, repent at leisure. What we're going to need to see is we're going to need to see a significant change in terms of probationary periods. We're advising our clients that if you're working on a 3-month probationary period, ask yourself the question, is 3 months enough for me to know whether this person is right for my business? Will 12 weeks be able to give me enough time to ensure that this person knows what we do, how we do it, who we do it with, what their role is, how they add value to the organization? Is 12 weeks going to be 3 months going to be long enough? We're already talking to clients about potentially extending that period to 6 months, and then using our our induction probation model that we know we talk about on a regular basis, that in order to ensure that the probationary periods are being checked. Probationary periods are the most underutilized resource for a lot of companies, so we need to start thinking about how we use them better, and we've done a separate conversation on that. But probationary periods, like you said, absolutely will be key, and getting your recruitment processes absolutely right to ensure that those individuals that walk through your door are right for your business, because in essence, removing them, if this day one right comes in, removing them is, like you said, going to be a big headache and a huge challenge.
Yeah.
And very costly, probably.
Okay, so in terms of what we need to do now, it's kind of we just got to sit tight and wait, but also just have a think about that probation, that probation length. If you are 3 months, maybe have a think about moving it to 6 months, and just kind of getting your head around your recruitment processes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I think, the conversation, what we don't know, and I think this is the thing, we hear a lot of stuff in terms of the press, what the type of questions we get asked on a very regular basis. So there's a lot of talk about it. But one thing to remember is nothing has been agreed. It's all in consultation. They can't do this and click their fingers and it'll come in. They might like to think that they could, but they can't. So there's going to be consultation with, business groups and industry and everything else to make sure this is right for businesses. We don't know what that's going to look like, but we expect that those conversations are already underway. If they're underway and it comes in some form, whether it comes in its totality or whether it comes in a flavour of what we're thinking, it will still be a fundamental, significant change to business owners. So in preparation for that, like you said, check the probationary periods, see what you're doing at the moment. It will be critical to make sure that the people you are bringing on and onboarding are right for your business. So probationary recruitment will be absolutely key.
Okay, thank you. Right, moving on to the next question, which is something that we touched on, flexible working. This question was just saying, do I need to introduce a 4-day working week? Which was a slightly panicked question. Like, do I need to introduce a 4-day working week? Because that's not going to work for my business. The short answer to that is no.
No, absolutely not. The BBC might have you think that is the case, and certain other individuals might think that's the case. No. So there is that's in relation to the conversation which I think happened about somebody letting it slip that somebody was bringing in a 4-day working week. As far as we're aware, no, that's not. I mean, it does work. We do advocate flexible working. We do advocate 4-day weeks. We have a lot of clients who are on that model. However, in response to the question, flexible working has to be right for your business. So going back to what we were saying about qualifying periods, there is a current day one right for individuals to ask for flexible working. Now, the key part is they have the right to ask for flexible working. The business currently doesn't have to grant that. There are a number of stages that you can go through to have those conversations. Now, we all know as a result of the last 4 years, flexible working does work very well. Like I said, huge advocate of flexible working. However, it has to be right for your business. So again, there is we can refer you to another quick sort of HR short we've got in terms of flexible working, but it has to be right for the business, it has to be right for the team, and it has to be right for the individual. So there are 3 checks and balances that we would put into place in terms of, flexible working. So short answer, no, you don't have to do a 4-day working week. You'll be pleased to know if you don't want to. Flexible working should work for your business, and 3 core measures are: does it work for me and my business right now? Does it work for my team? So, an individual can request something, but you've got consistency and fairness for the rest of your team. And then, will it work for that individual? Can we still continue to run the business and deliver what we need to be able to deliver if this request goes through? So that's the short answer.
Okay, great. So final question, And this one's quite interesting, is around a bit more information around the right to disconnect. So we've heard of this new piece of legislation that may be coming in around, employees having the right to, the employees having the right
Switch
to
off.
disconnect. Yeah, switch off. So I'm going to pass that one over to you, Karen, because I'm going to switch off now.
Always, this is always an interesting way. It's a very serious matter. It is a very serious matter. Because what we do know is we have seen a significant increase in terms of people doing more with flexible working. So as a result of flexible working, people are requesting it, but what they're finding is that they're then fitting in work around their life, and then fitting in work around their life means that it's crossing over and we're getting a very blurred line.
And they're struggling to sort of switch off, I guess.
Yeah, it is a very serious subject. The reason we make it slightly more lighthearted is that we do probably expect a lot of people to be using the banner of "I have the right to switch off." So yes, it's all in context, and it's all in a common sense approach. This is being used, interestingly, this is being used in places like Belgium and Ireland quite successfully at the moment. Anyway, we know that, and it's in response to this 24/7 UK culture that we've developed as a result of COVID. So what the government is proposing is not actually a necessarily a bad thing or a wrong thing for business. It's just about, we would advise that right to disconnect, right to switch off is part of your well-being, the well-being part of your organization. So as a business owner, we know that there's lots of business owners tend to have that natural inclination to work long hours and thinking about everything else, but from an employee perspective is what you would realistically expect. So it's a common sense approach. We're not going to burn employees out by doing too much. We just have to make sure that there is a very common sense approach to this, and that people are being spoken to. It's like we always say, Ro, it's the common sense, have a conversation approach. If we're seeing that people are doing extra hours above and beyond, or there's going to be one of two reasons for that. They're either going to be doing too much work because they are not sure about what's expected of them, so there's a conversation around this is what is expected of you, this is what we suggest. There are things, we've already seen things happening now, which is on the bottom of emails. Just because I work these hours doesn't mean you need to respond to these hours. So it's a conversation that you should be having with employees from a common sense perspective around what you think is reasonable and how you're going to work. We talk about working agreements a lot with our clients and having working agreements in place. And it doesn't need to be difficult. It can be an agreement which is, if I'm working these hours and you're working those hours, we'll agree that, we'll connect once a week, or we'll do this twice a week, or I'll send you a report. And they say it doesn't have to be complicated. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation subject matter when it starts to pick up a little bit more momentum. But like I said, if it's being done in other organizations in other countries, we can learn from that. But we would have, yes, there probably is a right to disconnect. We would expect that now. Do we need a piece of legislation to tell us about the right for somebody to disconnect? It's about good management leadership and talking to your employees about what you expect. So common sense approach to right to disconnect and right to switch off would be and consider using working agreements as well.
And conversations, just have good conversations with people.
I'll be a good conversation. I think we've lost the ability to do that sometimes, but have a good conversation.
A few of the questions that we had in, so just one final one, a few of the questions that we had in were like, what do I need to do now? Because there's so much going on, there's so much chit chat out there. And I think I've said before, online, on the news, we're reading loads, but actually what do I need to do right now? As a business owner, as someone that looks after the HR, as a team leader, is there anything that we're telling our clients to be doing now?
Yes. So number one to remember, and I know you said this in a recent HR short, point number one, don't panic. There is a lot of conversations going on. And there is a lot of stuff that still needs to be decided. So like I've said before, there are a lot of suggestions about what needs to be implemented. We're already seeing stuff that was part of that new, the new deal. We're already seeing stuff that they committed to within the first 100 days being watered down slightly. It's still in process, but we're seeing things being watered down. So number one, don't panic. Number two, preparation is key. So if you're going to look at anything in terms of all of the stuff that's going on at the moment, there will be, if these come in some form or another, there will be some quite significant changes that are going to need to happen, like significant changes. And that will be in relation to wording on your contract, and it will be in relation to colleague handbooks, staff handbooks, that will need refreshing and updating. But there will be a lot of advice and guidance that will come out as a result of this. You know, that we know that because we're in regular contact with our clients. So number one, don't panic. Number two, if you want to do anything and you want to start prepping up, it's about looking at what is in your contract that might get affected.
Yeah.
And number three is in relation to that critical piece of new legislation of the day one right, or the qualifying periods. If when that comes in some form or another, that is going to have a significant impact on your business. And by significant, it will be process, contractual, the way in which you approach things, the traditional sort of recruitment methods, all of those things, that's going to take a significant shift. But until we know what that is, let's not try and fix things before we know what we're actually fixing. So yeah, I mean, anyone who listens to us on a regular basis will know that they can sign up for our quarterly newsletters, which will give them a very short, light-hearted approach in terms of what is coming down the line, things that they can consider.
Yeah.
Anyone can call us. There is plenty of stuff online, but yeah, I would say don't panic. Let's just see what happens over the next couple of months. Prep up recruitment, prep up probation, think about what you want to do. If you take one thing away from this today, it would be, I would say, extend your probationary periods to 6 months and have a look at our 4, 12, 24 model that we use, because you'll have enough information there. That's enough to start with.
Perfect. Okay, I think that concludes all of the questions. So thank you very much.
That's all right. Thank you very much. Thank you for being my compere today. Thank you to everybody who did submit the questions. We really appreciate it. The recording will be online later today. So it'll be on our YouTube channel later today. So feel free to go check that out. Just in relation to what's coming up in the next sort of 3 months from our perspective, our workshops are about to launch. So we have the Managing Difficult Conversations, which is our most requested workshop. We've got Managing Effective Meetings. We also have Managing Long-Term Absence, and we also have the Recruitment and Retention Probationary Period one. So anybody who wants access to that, check out our Eventbrite page, or contact us for more information. If you want to sign up to our newsletter, you'll find the link where you're watching this video.
Super. Thank you very much. Take care.
All right. See you soon.